Hi everyone, and welcome to the second season of Behind Your Eyes. And in this second episode, Deborah is my guest. So, hi Deborah, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hello, how are you? I'm Deborah Driggs, and I am a wellness coach and author. I'm a writer of a weekly blog, and many moons ago, I did some acting. So there you have it.
And I always start the series with a sincere, how are you doing?
I'm actually really doing well this morning. We were talking earlier, and I said, yeah, you got me up a little bit earlier than I normally get up. I'm not, I say this because I'm not really a morning person, and I actually love to get up early, but when I say I'm not a morning person, it just means I like to take my time in the morning, and I have a routine and I have things that I do. So this morning I got up a little bit earlier, so I had time to do a little meditation and get my ginger tea and, do the things that I like to do. And so I'm doing
Yeah.
well. I start out my day every morning with thank you,
Mhm.
and for me, I believe in God. So I say, good morning, God, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
a blessing to wake up, and it's a blessing, you know, to have
Yeah.
this beautiful life. So yeah, so I'm always like living immediately. I have to, because that's work for me. In the
Mhm.
past, it wasn't that way. So
Yeah.
now it's work. I have to shift everything and start my day that way. Otherwise, it can
Mhm.
go, it can start off, as we all know,
Mhm.
if we don't start out doing these rituals and doing these routines, the
Yeah.
day can go any way it wants. So I try to guide it by
Yeah.
starting out doing the things I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, and it's a blessing to start the day with a grateful heart. I think it's always essential.
It's a must.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
must. People say, how do you start your day? And I say
Hmm.
exactly those words, with a
Yeah,
grateful heart.
exactly. And I've read, well, we're going deep now. I've read that you had a quite an unhappy childhood
Well,
and
it's early. We should just dive right in.
dive right in.
We have nothing to lose. You got me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I've read that you had quite an unhappy and unstable childhood, and could you tell a bit more about that?
Yeah, I would say that, as you start to write your life story
Hmm.
and you start to unravel, unpack, when you start to look under the hood at your own stuff,
Hmm.
you start to realize where certain issues or certain triggers come from.
Hmm.
And for me, I realized, I was left alone quite a bit as a child, and I wasn't really paid attention to. So the
Hmm.
first addiction for me was give me attention, so my first addiction was I was attention starved. I wanted so much attention, and I
Hmm.
would do anything to get it, whether it
Right.
was be sick or
Mm.
put on a show or get into trouble. And I wasn't one of those kids that got in trouble all the time, but I would, like I said, I would do anything to get attention. It was like a
Yeah,
fix.
whether it was
And
good
so
or bad attention.
whether it was good or bad, and same
Mm.
way with, school, I got a lot of positive attention right out of the gate. I was the teacher's pet. I did really well in school. I was advancing really well, and they actually wanted to move me up a grade, and 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 then all of a sudden it switched,
Mm.
and so I really, like, I dissected all of that. I looked at all of that. Where did it start?
Right.
Everything has kind of a beginning, and
Mm.
when you start to really write out your story, it helps to unpack this stuff, because
Mm.
you go, oh, I forgot all about that. And at my
Right.
age, excuse me, I now realize really the importance of keeping a journal, and not just so much to write down mm, trivial things, but to really write
Mm.
down how you were feeling each day,
Right.
to track those emotions.
Yeah. And sometimes situations can trigger things that you didn't even know, like lived within you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
yeah.
now I read that you did figure skating and that it was really like a saving grace for you. And yeah, what did that bring you?
I say this with everything in my heart that it saved
Mm,
my life,
mm,
because I think that is where I was put in an environment for many years that was so educational, more
mhm,
so than school, because I had coaches and mentors, and I had girls that were older than me that I would look up to
right.
and watch what they were doing. And the lessons that I learned from
Mhm,
competing, from having to get up so early in the morning and skate before school, and then I skated
mhm,
after school, and all of those things, all the discipline, all the structure, and then hearing how other people interacted, because I didn't get that at home. I didn't
right.
get any lessons at home.
Mhm,
So I was getting them there. I was getting them. And the thing that was interesting about ice skating is that I was outgrowing my life at home.
right. Mm,
And
mm.
that was a shift, because I
Yeah,
felt that I would come home and like look at the people around me and think,
yeah.
hmm,
You saw them
I
differently.
don't fit in here. You
Yeah.
know, I'm outgrowing this. And I believe was my saving grace as I
Mm,
moved into my life. Those lessons stuck with me.
mm,
And I would always think to myself, is this something my coach would do? Or is this, how would they have handled this? You know,
mhm.
so I would definitely pull from those experiences.
So you actually finally had like the role models that your family never provided for you.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So that lifted you up as a person and you would maybe
Yeah,
see
it
your home life differently.
gave me some
Mm,
self-esteem, gave me some self-confidence, gave me
yeah.
some, you know, those feelings of like felt like I was doing something. And
Hmm.
the other thing about skating is that, because, you know, I also learned that when you put the work in,
Hmm.
you know, you see the results, and nobody else can do it for you.
Right.
You have to put the work in. That was the first kind of lesson of
Yeah.
seeing that, because, you know, when you first start out, you're fumbling around,
Mm,
you know, and then God, cut to like 3 years later, all of a sudden, like I was doing things that I never
mm,
imagined. You know,
yeah.
I just, you know, you start out, you don't see how you can progress. And
Right.
so that was my first real lesson in, you know, we can't see ourselves progressing. Sometimes we have
Mm,
to stop and kind of go, wow, look where I was 2 years ago and look where I
right.
am today. And I don't
Yeah.
think I do that enough. Even
Yeah.
today, like I don't do that enough. I don't sit and go, oh, you know what? 2 years ago, I was not doing this, you
Mm,
know, and today
yeah.
I'm doing the stuff that I set out to do.
Mm,
And everything is kind of morphed into, just because I keep taking another step in the direction of where I want to go. Like if somebody would have told me 2 years ago, you're gonna be a coach, you're gonna
mm.
help people, I would have said, no, that's not what I'm gonna do. And
Yeah.
here it is. That's what I do. And I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Like I love to be of service, to coach, I love to guide people on their dream and what they
Hmm.
want to do. And somebody asked me recently, well, what does it take to be a life coach? I
Hmm.
said, a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yes.
life experience, you know, and I said that jokingly. I said, no, obviously I have I have a few different certifications.
Hmm.
And one being I went through the whole NLP Academy,
Hmm.
and but I do believe that. I believe that life experiences, you know, if I have something that people relate to,
Yeah.
if they relate to me, we're going to work really well together.
Right.
And one of my I had three coaches towards the end of my skating career, and
Mm-hmm.
one of my coaches wasn't really a great skater, but she was a great coach.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes is true with coaches. It's like we may not be great at something somebody wants to do, but we're really good at coaching them to get there.
Right. Exactly.
And so, yeah, so that sticks with me. I have had a lot of coaches and a lot of mentors throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think I do now when I'm coaching and mentoring somebody is I use a lot of those different lessons and those things
Mm-hmm.
that I learned.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is "Make your mess your message."
Yes. Well, and the other one too is disasters make the best masters.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a disaster at something, I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what not to do to
Yeah.
avoid that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think disasters make great masters. And the other
Yeah.
thing I always turn to and I use in my daily life, and this can help weed people out of your life as well, because sometimes we're not sure why somebody's kind of annoying us
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of let them linger around for a bit. But now
Right.
I kind of nip this in the bud today. And
Mm.
that is anytime somebody gives me advice on something they haven't done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a woman recently tell me, it was interesting because, you know, people come into your life. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this.
Mm.
People come into your life and they want to give you
Mhm.
advice for some reason, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure why that is. I'm still looking at that. But anyway,
Mhm.
so she came into my life. She's, I believe, early 39, 40. She's never been married. She's never had kids.
Mm.
I've been married. I've been engaged 3 times. I have 3 children.
Mhm.
Okay. But I never said anything to her about any of that. But
Mhm.
she wanted to tell me why I'm not dating certain men and what I should do to attract a certain,
Mhm.
and I
Uh,
just kind of like thought,
mm.
but what it did for me was a gift, because I
Mm.
went, oh, here, this is a perfect example of what I talk
Mhm.
about. We
Right.
don't take advice from people that don't have what we want.
Right. Exactly.
She's not in a loving relationship. She's not in a
Yeah.
relationship that I admire, that I
Right.
want.
Yeah.
Um, we don't take advice. We don't let that penetrate us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because when we do, we feel bad about ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. No, no, I was married to the love of my
Mhm.
life. I did have children. Before I was married, I was engaged twice.
Mhm.
I've been there. I've been through all of that. So we don't take advice from people who are not living a life that we want.
Right.
But she took this a step further, and then she started talking to me about how I should publish my book.
Mm. And has she
and
published the
and
book
I
herself?
this is where I get curious,
Mm.
because I like to ask a lot of questions. So I said, oh, have you published a book?
Right.
No.
Mm. Mhm.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, why would I take advice from somebody who's never published a book? Well,
Mhm.
I know people that da 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 da. No. So that is, if I were to give advice to anybody right now, this is something you must pay attention to.
Mhm. Exactly.
Don't don't let other people discuss your dreams, tell you what you should be doing with your dreams, tell you how to do things that you're doing in your life, unless they have the life that you want.
Right.
If they have the life that you want, well, take all that advice, get out your notepad, write it down,
Yeah.
take notes. It's important. So
Yeah.
take those notes and take that advice. But if
Mhm.
they're not living the life that you want, and they don't have what you want, and they've
Mhm.
never done what you want to do,
Right.
I nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
And not only do I nip it in the bud, but I don't need to be around it any further, because I can see now
Mhm.
That's not going to be somebody in my life that's going to guide me forward
Right.
and be a cheerleader for me. And I
Yeah.
think it's also really important. I tell people when I coach, I say, who are your 5 cheerleaders?
Mhm.
Who are the 5 people in your life that you can go to and they'll go, you're doing great.
Mhm. Yeah.
No matter what. They don't tell you anything you're doing wrong. They
Mhm.
just tell you you're doing great.
Mhm.
Those are the 5 people I want in my life.
Exactly.
I want 5 cheerleaders,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I want 5 people that understand that this is really a tough, it can get really tough.
Mhm.
And so we need that support.
Yeah.
We need, like, I love when women post this all the time. Women should be supporting women, or women, da 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 da. And I believe that, like, yeah, that's great, but
Mhm.
we really have to do it,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
you
That's why
know.
in this series I only interview women because I want to encourage them to open up, have a voice, and be heard about mental health.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a serious subject, it's very
Yeah.
serious to me. And as somebody who struggled for years and didn't know why,
Mhm.
that's the scariest thing, is because you can't, it doesn't matter how much intelligence you have,
Mhm.
you can't think your way out of mental illness. You
Exactly.
can't, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
no amount of, your IQ doesn't matter when you're struggling with mental illness. And, it's when you finally realize,
Mhm.
and for me, it took a lot of years. I didn't know,
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know. I just would think, oh, I feel like I might be depressed, or maybe it's this, or maybe, I would always look outside of,
Mhm.
or what was going on was affecting me. Now, sure, outside things will affect what's going on inside. They
Of
will,
course.
it will. We're not, that's just being human. But I was like, it was extreme for me. Everything was extreme. And I finally
Right.
realized, oh my God,
Yeah. And it
I
all
have
starts
to
with
get,
an awareness, of course. That when you're aware of what's going on inside of you, then you can start to heal.
yes, it's the
Yeah.
awareness. And then, keeping, I always say that for me and my healing, it took a good 90 days, if not,
Mm.
if not longer, to
Hmm.
really heal. And it's an ongoing, it's a journey. There's no destination, right?
Exactly.
There's no
Yeah.
like, okay, if I do this for a month,
I'm
it's
done.
like, there's no pill you can take and you're
Yeah.
healed.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I could ask you, how many people do you know that are taking antidepressants that are still depressed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
I know.
it's so common. And so
Yeah.
I remember and so I always tell people go, who are your ideal clients? Who do you coach?
Hmm.
And I say, anybody that's gone to every seminar, every rah, every yoga retreat, and they still don't feel well.
Right.
They're my client. Like, I want to meet that person, because that
Yeah.
was my story. I
Hmm.
was doing all those things. I was going to all the retreats, sitting front row, taking notes,
Hmm.
jumping up and down, rah, rah, rah. And then I'd get home and go,
Yeah.
for a few days, I'd be like, okay. And then
Mm.
I'd be like, back to like, why do I still feel so tired? Why do I still feel so sad? Why do I
Right.
not want to leave my house?
Hmm.
And so I thought, well, okay, what's really going on? And
Hmm.
then this was the funny story. So in December of 2020, I decided I was going to do this 75 hard, which was another program where you work out twice a day,
Hmm.
you drink a gallon of water, and I was reading it and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. This is going to be the thing. This is what's
Yeah.
I'm going to feel so great. And by the way, I did do about 45 days of
Hmm.
this 75 hard. But what happened is I woke up one night in the middle of the night and I was like, oh my God, like, light bulbs go off.
Hmm.
I should be doing my own program. why am I always doing other people's programs?
Yeah.
So I like got inspired and I wrote down on 2 whiteboards, this is what my program is. And I like erased everything and then I rewrote and then I followed it for 90 days and it worked. And I thought, okay, if it works for me and I'm really, I was one of those people that really struggled. And people would even say to me, if I ever mentioned that I just was feeling very depressed or very sad, people would go, really? You always seem like you have it so together.
Yeah.
And that was the way I put on. I had such a mask.
Yeah.
I just came.
Yeah. Like I read on your website that like a quote you said, my life was one big distraction. And yeah, that you were, like you said before, like addicted to the attention. So that was just a mask that
Everything
you
was
were.
a distraction.
Right.
Everything was a distraction, from traveling to drinking alcohol
Mhm.
to dating to just always a distraction to stop me from actually dealing with
Mm.
this.
Yeah.
And so what do? You remove all distractions. And
Hmm.
what are you left with?
Hmm. The bear you.
Bear me. And let me
Yeah.
tell you something, nothing will bring you to your knees
Hmm.
quicker than having to really pop the hood and
Yeah.
go, this is what's going on. Nobody wants to look at it. So
Hmm.
what
Yeah.
do? We do things where we don't have to look at what's really going on.
Yeah.
And I did that for years.
Hmm.
For years. Now, I will pat myself on the back, as I like to do both, what did I do that was good and what did I do that was bad? What I did that was good was I did search. I did look for things that could improve my life, improve my health, improve my well-being.
Hmm.
But what happened is they didn't last and I went right back into this old distraction, all consuming life
Hmm.
with all of those little things that I did over here, all those seminars or yoga retreats or all those things were kind of here in my
Hmm.
mind. So when I go back to doing all this, I was still thinking about, oh, well, this doesn't really go with what I just did.
Hmm.
And so you start to build on that, and I think there are a lot of resources today, more than ever.
Yeah.
More than ever. I mean, you can Google an impediment or something,
Hmm.
an ailment or something that's upsetting you. You can
Hmm.
Google something, and there are 3 to 5 online free courses you can take.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
today we live in a world where there is so much abundance, so much possibility for healing. There's so much available.
Yeah.
I'm just one, I'm a little
Hmm. Little
grain of
speck.
sand,
Yeah.
right? I'm a little grain of sand with a weekly blog,
Hmm.
and I put out inspiration. I had somebody ask me, I said, you should sign up for my weekly newsletter because I write a weekly blog and I
Hmm.
write about relationships, life lessons, spiritual, universal things. I have like 4 or 5 categories that I write about.
Hmm.
And so I write this weekly blog and it's a free, and this person said, well, how much is it? I said, it's free. It's free. Not only is it free, but if you sign up for my newsletter, I have a free gift for you.
Free plus free.
But people don't believe it, and I
Hmm.
said, no, it's free because I want to build what everybody always has something that they want to do. I
Hmm.
want to build a community
Yeah.
of people like me
Right.
that have done everything, but still there's something going on.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
those are the people that I want to come into my community. Those are the people that I want to work with. I am not a coach that wants to sit in a lot of therapy and a lot of
Mhm.
drama. And I don't want to hear the whole story because that's not going to serve us. I want to get right to the solution.
Right. To the
We
heart
can
of
either
it.
be in the problem, which by the way, If you want to pay me to listen to the problem for an hour, that's great, but I'd rather get right to the solution
Exactly. Yeah.
and get some things rolling to bring you some relief.
Yeah.
So that's how I work. And I'm not for everybody. Like I
Mhm.
said, I'm not for everybody. And there are plenty of things that I have not experienced that I would not be the right coach for. You
Right.
know, an
Yeah.
example might be a business. Somebody might come to me to be a business coach. I don't know that, even though I've had success in business, I don't know that that would be
Right.
I really like the wellness, the healing, the addiction, the recovery.
Yeah.
That's kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. That's your thing.
Relationships, you know.
Yeah. And there's another quote on your website that I really loved. It said, "When I stopped running and looked at myself directly in the soul, I found exactly who I was meant to be." So
Yeah.
yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's true. It's very true,
yeah.
because I wrote a blog called Running Shoes,
Mm,
because I always say my running shoes are very close by, right? They're always
right.
there. I can put them on and just take off. And when I was going through this 90-day program that I created, it was really difficult.
Mm,
It was really difficult because I really removed quite a bit.
mm,
And I thought, what happened to the days where people would call me up and go, let's go to Cabo, or, you know, and that's what I call like running, you know,
mm,
running, like, and doing and distracting and all of that instead of just sitting.
mm,
And so that's what I did. I just sat for 90 days and thought, well, this is who I am. This
mm,
is it, you know, and I can either improve on who I am
mm,
and kind of take it to the next level,
mm.
and really, you know, build a life that I really love. And
Yeah.
what do I love to do? And, you know, and then finding out, you know, because for so many years, the things that I was doing, whether it was shopping or drinking or going to lunch with girlfriends and drinking bottles of rosé, like that isn't stuff that I really love.
Mm,
I was just, that again, distracting and
yeah.
doing and covering and putting on a mask. And isn't my life great? You know,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
it's really wasn't.
Mm. And currently, what is your favorite way of self-care?
Oh my gosh, I have a good amount of toolbox
Mm,
uh, things that I pull from.
mm,
So I love to just get a good book and a
mm,
nice cup of tea. And when I have some free time, I like to curl up with a book. I love to write.
mm,
So I write every day something,
mm,
you know, to just keep that. I love to write. I love to read. I love to do puzzles. I
mm,
love to play my piano.
right.
I love to go for walks. I love to hike. I love yoga. And I'm working with a couple of women right now to maybe put together some kind of women's retreat that would involve yoga and self-care. And then, you know, a couple
Mm,
of us that would speak on certain topics of, you know, for healing and recovery.
mm,
And, you know, I love to be of service.
yeah.
And I find that to be the most rewarding out of everything I've done in my life. I find it to be the most rewarding because it
Mm,
helps me.
yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, it really does. It helps me selfishly. It helps me when
Yeah.
I'm being of service to somebody else and I'm being their cheerleader and I'm
Yeah.
being their guide. It helps me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a coach as well, and I feel the same that when I see you, sometimes you see something change within them, and it's like that also heals like a part of me,
Yes,
and that's the
it's
best part of
exactly
it.
right. And it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that today,
Mm,
I'm not sure why, but more than ever, today more than ever, we need coaches. We need
mhm,
more coaches. We need more mentors. We need more help.
yeah.
And I'm not sure why that is. I feel it. I've been on the
Mhm,
planet for 59 years,
Mhm.
and I feel it more than ever.
Yeah.
More than, and I don't know if it's just because I'm so really aware,
Mhm.
but I feel it. I feel it when I look at the news every once in a while, or when unfortunately, because I am on all these different outlets, things will pop up, and I'm just like, gosh, it's so, like, what's going on?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and so I feel I was actually at a summit,
Mhm.
a coaching summit, and one of the one of the head speakers
Mhm.
was saying that we live in a time right now where there aren't enough coaches.
Mhm.
And his whole speech or talk was about that. And
Mhm.
I thought, wow, because I thought, when I first started to go through the training in 2020, and I went through a couple different trainings at once, actually, because I really wanted to just
Yeah.
immerse myself in as much information as I could get.
Mhm.
And when I went through the training, I thought, well, there's a lot of coaches out there.
Mhm.
Like, I kind of poo-pooed myself.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, that thought process? And then here, 2 years later, I hear this great speaker, and he's like, no, we need coaches more than ever right now.
Yeah.
And then, I feel that now. I really
Mhm.
do. I feel that shift. I feel
Yeah.
that I have friends call me that they ask me for help, you know,
Yeah.
kind of out of the blue. And they'll kind of joke around. They'll go, hey, Deb's Den. Can I can you tell me, how would I handle this? And
Mhm.
I think it's cute. I think it's very funny, and it means they're watching.
Right.
It means they're noticing.
Mhm.
There's a shift happening. There's,
Yeah.
well, she's doing it, you know, she's
Yeah.
not at our lunches drinking rosé anymore. She's not partaking in our girls' night out.
Mm.
She's, people notice when you change.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of two things happen. I think either they go, wow, that's great.
Mhm.
Good for her. She needed it. Or it makes them kind of have to take a look at themselves.
Yeah. Or think like they either get inspired or they get
Yeah.
intimidated sometimes even.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's an interesting, they say that the hardest thing is when you make a shift, when you make a change, the people around you really have to adjust,
Exactly. Yeah.
because they're so used to you being a certain way.
Mhm.
And I always joke around now, because
Mhm.
I can't take things so seriously today.
Yeah.
And one of the things people say, well, you used to da 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 da, and I go, that's like going to a house that I don't live in
Yeah.
anymore. Like, I don't live in that house anymore. So
Right.
you're like, it's kind of like I'm not even aware of it.
Right.
You're talking about a place that I don't even go to anymore.
Yeah.
And that's hard for people, because they want to hold on to the old you.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard when you make a shift or you make a change. I remember one time I was at a Tony Robbins seminar, and at the end of the seminar, everybody's all pumped up and going to go home and can't wait to share all this information. And
Mhm.
Tony knows and is on to that. So he says, don't go home and start bringing all this information. They
Mhm.
didn't go through the 4 days of this. They have no idea.
Mhm.
So be really gentle when you go back into your life, that you're not
Right.
like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, da, da, da. Just let them see by example.
Yeah. Well, I always
Yeah,
ask the final question. When are you at your happiest?
that is a brilliant question.
Mhm.
I think it is this most simple thing. I think I'm at my happiest when my kids are around,
Mhm.
especially when we're all together at once, um, or I'm just hiking,
Mhm.
I'm out in nature. or I'm walking on the sand and my feet are in the water, you know, in the
Just the
ocean.
simple things.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know, that wasn't always the case. It used to be in the past, oh, I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds, when I make $1 million, when I have the perfect partner, no, those days are over.
Yeah.
It's just, I choose, happiness is a choice and I just choose it, you know.
Well, thank you so much, Deborah. It was
Thank
wonderful to see
you.
you.
Thank you so much for allowing me this time. And like I said, my newsletter is free. There's a free gift when you sign up for my newsletter. And I really hope that people go to my website and take a look around. I have some great resources. And if people are interested in booking a call with me and doing a session, I am offering 50% off with a code, Deb's Den Coaching, all capital letters, Deb's Den Coaching. If you use that code, you get 50% off.
Oh, that's such a wonderful gift. Well,
So
thank you
that's
so
my
much.
gift to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.